The drama-filled fallout this week between Donald Trump and Elon Musk seems to be melting the brains of some in MAGA land right now. I mean, they can't, I guess, seem to imagine it's real. So instead of that, some have come up with some pretty wackadoo explanations of what is actually happening.
I have a theory, though, and this is just my theory, but I've recently been pretty right about a lot of things, so I'm just going to roll with it. I think Trump might be working in tandem with Elon here to tank his own bill in a 4D chess move. Just a theory.
Just the old 4D chess move here, I see. Now, to be fair, that was on Wednesday, so Musk had some negative tweets, but it was before everything completely went bananas and nuclear yesterday. But even the next day, that same Newsmax host was still in some form of denial and still making some pretty out there excuses.
Turns out my prediction yesterday was a little bit off. I'll be honest, this really hurts my soul, okay? I'm not even going to take a side here. These two were doing awesome things together. I'm inclined to believe that there's a bunch of people in the middle that have muddied these waters, and it's not necessarily between Trump and Elon, because there's no way these two would just randomly blow up like this.
Or maybe they would, but it's hurting that guy's soul, so remember that. I mean, that anchor wasn't alone, though, with that kind of thinking. Disgraced right-wing pundit Dinesh D'Souza floated the idea that the whole feud could be some sort of perverse scheme to force the release of the Epstein files. He speculated that Trump and Elon might soon break out the champagne. And at the same time, even more mainstream right-wing outlets like Fox News had takes like this.
These guys are like roommates. They were living in close quarters for like the first 6 months of the year. They're just blowing off steam. Okay. The issue is donor maintenance. This guy's the mega donor. So you don't want him accusing you of being a pedophile, and you don't want him calling for your impeachment. I hope he doesn't mean that, but maybe they can patch things up. I mean, Vance called Trump Hitler, and he's on the ticket.
The old Vance model could give everybody hope here, I guess. Okay, clearly there's a lot of takes out there, but it could also be, and this is just my theory, that Trump and Musk are two egomaniacs publicly feuding about how, and in part, about how an enormous budget bill should best benefit their personal interests. Who's to say? Look, the spectacle of this drama between two billionaires, the richest man in the world and the most powerful man in the world, can feel a bit like a sideshow, but it is understandably hard to ignore. And there's a legitimate question about how those opposing Trump and Musk can capitalize on this feud. And I will say, Democrats did have more fun yesterday on a range of social media platforms than I think they've had in a long time. I mean, for instance, Minnesota Senator Tina Smith asked, who gets custody of J.D. Vance in the divorce? Washington Senator Patty Murray said, when I first got into politics, men would always tell me that women were too emotional to lead.
Well, joining me now, New York Times reporter and MSNBC contributor Teddy Schleifer, along with Megan Hayes, former special assistant to President Biden, and Maura Gillespie, former advisor to former Speaker John Boehner. It's good to see all three of you. Teddy, you first here. Where do things stand right now? I mean, Musk he's backed off of a threat to decommission SpaceX Dragon spacecraft, but your paper and NBC, among others, reports that Trump is considering selling the red Tesla that he bought in March at that flashy White House lawn event we all witnessed. Are we headed towards a reconciliation or estrangement?
Well, I thought the most interesting move today was Elon Musk deleting probably his worst tweets about Trump, where he ties him to Jeffrey Epstein. Elon Musk and his Twitter deletions, you could write a PhD on kind of how that's done, but it's not done casually. Many of us have sent a message we want to take back, and obviously there's some indication that Elon feels that way about these Epstein tweets. I don't know if it's a truce or if it's just like a cooling of tensions. You can choose your wording, but I thought that was the most revealing window into his state of mind, which is he's going back to a message he sent a couple of days ago and deleting it. He's not recanting it. He's not apologizing. He's not putting out a press release that he deleted it, but he is very aware of his feed. He's very aware that things like that will get coverage and chose to do so intentionally.
But he has also liked a couple tweets, or whatever you want to call them, X's. I'm not sure I even refer to them. He has, of people who've said, oh, you need to reveal everything from the Epstein files and put out lists and all that kind of thing. Let me ask you what we heard there in that soundbite with regard to government contracts. What's the status of that? Where does that stand?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything's on the table. I mean, clearly this is obviously an evolving situation, and I think there's a lot of steps in between Russ Vogt saying that's on the table and Donald Trump saying it's on the table and it actually happening. I don't even know how that even would be done, frankly, in any kind of effective way. Excuse me. Clearly, there's an effort to get something. They're keeping the option on the table, and I understand why.
So, Megan, to you now, because Musk has made numerous threats about the information that he could release. He has had unprecedented access to Trump and the administration, so there is a potential for damage if he were to talk, right? However, as The Guardian points out, members of Trump's inner circle, they're going to have had the same access to Musk, whose personal life is becoming a media staple. So are the headlines of mutually assured destruction correct? And just, digging into what you've done for a living from a messaging standpoint, how nervous would you be if you were still in the White House?
I mean, this is not healthy at all for anybody. It's not healthy for the American people. This is a massive distraction. And I think that it's unclear whether Trump wants this distraction to distract away from this terrible bill that's going through Congress right now, or if this is something that he actually wants to put an end to and to move on to talk about something else. But this is a massive distraction that I assume that the Musk team and Trump's team are very cautious of and very aware that this could be could keep going on, and this is all the media is covering, and that's taking away from his agenda. It's going to take away from his parade next Saturday. There's just a lot of downside for him to keep this going.
So, Mara, among Musk's tirades was his claim, quote, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and the Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. I mean, whether he can actually take credit can be debated, but Musk did flood more than $250 million into the race. He intended to give another $100 million to Trump's political operation. So what happens if he doesn't and he directs, let's say the money instead to defeating MAGA endorsed candidates?
It'll be interesting to watch it play out. I think that, Elon Musk did not understand how government worked, especially government, ours. And that we saw kind of in an egregious way because he came in and tried slashing things, and that'll still be, debated in the courts. He just didn't understand bureaucracy, and things don't operate the way that he probably would like for businesses to operate, right? There's a separation there for a reason. And I think when it comes to elections, the House Republicans and Senate Republicans, by and large, are going to stand behind President Trump, right? They're more short-term thinking as far as we've got to get through this bill. We got to pass the president's agenda. They're on the same team. Elon came in at the last minute, essentially, with this election and threw his support behind President Trump, but really has been more of a nuisance than anything. And so, if Democrats want to take his money, and that's their decision. But I just think that moving forward, Republicans are pretty, okay with the fact that Elon's out.
Teddy, what about the risk of investigations into Musk, as Steve Bannon, of course, a fierce critic of Musk, is calling for? Because we saw recent reports of allegedly excessive drug use by Musk during last year's campaign that could warrant probes, plus allegations that Musk initially didn't have a legal basis to live and work here in the U.S., which then puts his immigration status at risk. Is there any appetite in Trump world to take this on?
Yeah, I mean, we reported yesterday that Trump has been sort of asking people, perhaps idly, perhaps not idly, whether or not Musk is doing drugs right now, and is that he must be acting out so unstably because he's on drugs. I mean, I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying that's what Trump is saying. Clearly there are vulnerabilities, to say the least. Obviously, given the amount of federal contracts, there's the opportunity for retribution. But, Trump is vindictive, and a lot of things are on the table, right? You never know. Like, I can't give you an answer to say that he wouldn't do it because Trump does a lot of stuff. But clearly, there are vulnerabilities, and there is the Musk's kind of sordid, chaotic personal life is an opportunity for Trump to frankly screw with him if he would like to.
So, Megan, even Russia has weighed in on this. There's one official who joked about hosting peace talks. Another offered for Musk to come work over there. Are U.S. adversaries pouncing on this upheaval or a perceived weakness here somehow?
I mean, they have every right to. This is a joke, right? These two billionaires are having a fight publicly on social media platforms over who can line each other's pockets more. I mean, it's just disgusting that we're even having to deal with this, but it's more embarrassing to our country that our adversaries are now weighing in. But this is also creating a vulnerability for them. They see weakness and they see how to get under Trump's skin. They see a way in. And I think that we should be cautious of that. And I think that they'll take full advantage of that, whether it's covertly or very out in the open, like that comment that you just posted on the screen.
Samora, House Republicans, we saw them scrambling to mollify Musk after speaking out about the mega policy bill. But with Trump and Musk in a full-on feud, where does that leave these lawmakers? Do they flip again? Do they then attack Musk?
The sad reality is that hypocrisy runs rampant in politics, right?
Congresswoman Stansbury is joining me right now. She, of course, the ranking Democrat on the Oversight Committee. Welcome back to the broadcast. Good to see you. So when you spoke at that DOJ subcommittee on Wednesday, you referenced the breakup between Musk and the GOP over the budget bill. I'm curious what song you would want to have played, but we can save that for another time. But were you aware a more seismic separation was incoming? And I'm curious your reaction to it when it happened.
Yeah, well, I think many of us are, have a certain amount of delight in the breakup of this bromance, not just because we're seeing the breakup of ages, but also because it has really important implications for the American people. And these two men have terrorized the American people for the last 3.5 months, whether it was Musk's totally scam artist effort of DOJ, which shattered thousands of lives and dismantled agencies and let children starve across the world, or it's Donald Trump's completely lawless execution in Project 2025 in the way that it's shattering everything from due process to the separation of powers. But I think it was very obvious starting around Sunday or Monday that something big was going down between Musk and Trump, because Musk started tweeting and, was pretty much out of control for days trying to...
The fight continues between Elon and Elon and Trump's people. According to some sources, at least, there was a literal physical fight. This has been said by Bannon, and other sources are talking about it, where at least according to the story, Elon was fighting with Besant, and Elon was saying that their cuts weren't enough, and then he responded to Elon saying, well, you promised you'd find us $1 trillion of cuts with Doge alone, and you haven't nearly delivered that. And they called Elon a fraud, and then Elon in response rammed into him pretty brutally, and he started it and then maybe was hit back, and that might explain the black eye, and Elon was thrown out of the West Wing at that point. And it's continuing. Today he's been fighting with Bannon, calling Bannon the R word, calling Bannon a communist, just insane stuff, right? And it's a sign that the situation isn't getting better. I know people thought there's going to be a full back down. Elon deleted some of the things he said. There are rumors that maybe there's going to be some kind of reconciliation. But honestly, it wouldn't shock me that, and this is Saturday, that by Sunday we'll get a new blowout between either Trump and Musk directly, or at least Musk and somebody, in the Trump sphere. We warned them all. We warned all of them. We warned Elon that if you get involved with Trump, your businesses are going to flounder and you're going to have a mental breakdown. And we warned Trump that, once you start giving everything over to the richest, most egotistical man in the world, maybe even richer, well, definitely richer, but maybe even more egotistical than you, Donald, that it's going to cause you a lot of headaches. We warned them. Not because we wanted them to succeed, but just we were calling balls and strikes. And we were righter than we thought.